This video explains how to build a Power BI report that users can customize in real time. This technique allows for a primary color to be dynamically changed, which then updates the rest of the report with variations of that color, for example, lighter or darker. The first step is to get the primary color that will drive all other colors. To do this, we need to add three numeric range parameters to the page. And you can see here on the left, I have already added two of them. So to add a third, we simply come here to Modeling, New Parameter, Numeric Range. And we have to make sure it's whole number from 0 to 255 with an increment of 1. And we're going to hit Create. And then I'll simply put it here on the left along with the other ones. What we'll do with these three parameters is convert them into an RGB color. If you're not familiar with RGB, it's one of the most well-known color systems in the world, and it combines red, green, and blue light to create virtually any color. As you can see, if I move any of these sliders, I will create a different color, and I can reference this exact color with a code that's unique to it. As Power BI handles RGB natively, we simply have to write the following measure, which captures the selection of each parameter. If you notice, you'll see that I have changed the default parameter names to make them easier to distinguish. You can find this and all other measures in the article I will link to in the description below. To see the result, we now just have to apply this measure as conditional formatting to any chart element, for example, the menu here on the left. So if I select the menu and come here to Style, Field, I have an option to use a field as the background color. So I've already chosen primary color, our new measure. So if you do that and then you change any of the parameters, you will see what happens to the background. So that will change exactly as we wanted. Using the same primary color, we can create darker and lighter variants to use in different report elements. For example, the header you can see here, icons or chart titles, for example. To create a dark color, as you can see here, we simply have to multiply the RGB factors by a number between 0 and 1. So if you want to do this, make sure you also round the number because RGB does not accept decimals. Another interesting scenario is to change the saturation of the primary color. For example, to fade that color and use inactive buttons. In this case, another color system makes our lives easy. That's HSL. If you haven't come across HSL, H stands for hue, and that's all the colors in the rainbow from 0 to 360. S stands for saturation, and that's a number between 0 and 100%, where 0 is gray and 100% is the full color, and L stands for lightness, and that varies between black and white, and also it's a number between 0 and 100. As our primary color was chosen on RGB, we need to convert that into HSL. To do that, there's this function already written here. That looks a bit complicated, but it only needs the first three parameters with your R, G, and B, and everything else will be automated. With this, the final color is simply written as you can see here. It's simply passing the converted RGB to hue, and I've let saturation and lightness at 45% each. To make icons change color dynamically as well, we can pass any of the colors we have created to an SVG image. So to find these SVG images, you can come over to Iconify, where all the icons are open source. And for example, if I search for user, I'll have a number of options. Let's, for example, select this one here. And if you scroll down and select SVG, then you'll be presented with the code that generates this icon. Now, before we bring this into Power BI, we need to be careful with the double quotation marks. So if I copy all of this and bring up a text editor, for example, Notepad, we just need to replace all double quotation marks with single quotation marks. So if you do all of that in one go, now we can bring this into a measure in Power BI. So I already have a measure placeholder there, and inside double quotation marks, I'm going to paste what we just did. And now if you notice here on the field color, we need to replace this with our dynamic color. So the easiest way is to add two double quotation marks and two ampersands, and inside I'll pass a primary color, which is dynamic. And the final thing is here on the size. I want to make this 75 pixels. Same for height. And that's it. Now you should see the result, the user icon with the color we have chosen. And there you have it. A final note: to display any of these icons, you will need a visual that can render HTML elements. So to do that, you can come here to the app source. And if you search for HTML, you have a number of options you can use to render the icons. And there you have it. Now if you select any of the parameters here on the bottom left, you should see all of the UI updating for that new color. You should be mindful to use this technique strategically, as overloading the report with many of these dynamic elements could affect performance. I hope this was useful, so make sure you follow for more Power BI tips and tricks, and I will see you in the next one.